Welcome back to AI for Founders. I'm Ryan Estes. AI is sprinting, but most enterprises are stuck doing the splits. 1 foot on a mainframe, 1 foot in the cloud. And the plumbing in between is Victorian. Today we fix that. My guest is David Carmell, founder of DATAROCKiT, and his claim is simple and spicy. Data is just data until it's clean enough for AI. In this episode, you'll learn how legacy and unstructured data get transformed into trustworthy, AI-ready fuel in hours instead of years. We dig into onboarding that's almost just uploaded, pricing that shares in customer savings, and a playbook for selling urgency to cautious C-suites. This one is for founders, CTOs, and operators who want their AI to stop hallucinating and start shipping outcomes. If you want practical steps, case study thinking, and a few killer metaphors you can repeat to your board, you're in the right place. And if you like interviews that turn buzzwords into bankable moves, subscribe at aiforfounders.co. This newsletter is if you want cheat codes before your next exec meeting. They land first at aiforfounders.co. If your roadmap needs fewer debates and more decisions, join us at aiforfounders.co. And if this episode earns a slot in your repeat queue, drop a 5-star review and tell us the smartest thing you're stealing. This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster, the easiest way for founders and exec to get booked on the right podcast. You bring the story, Kitcaster brings the audience. Our team researches the perfect shows, pitches you with producer-friendly angles, and preps you so every interview turns into pipeline, partnerships, and press. No spreadsheets, no guessing, just a clear calendar with hosts who actually want you on the microphone. Whether you're launching a product, raising a round, or building category authority, Kitcaster turns podcast guesting into a repeatable growth channel. We handle targeting, outreach, scheduling, and briefing so you can show up, deliver your best 30 minutes, and get back to building. Ready to turn conversations into conversions? Talk to Kitcaster and let's line up your next 10 interviews. All right, David, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And also just a shout out to you. Thanks for all you do. I mean, really, for some of us who sometimes get a little weedy, it's nice to find people that have tentacles in the rest of the world and in deeper dives. So thanks. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And all of this is just a work of passion, you know? Well, also, I never shut up, so I figure you might as well turn the microphone on and put it out there. But it's great to have you on the show. I would love to kick things off just by you giving our listeners here a brief description of your company, DATAROCKiT.
Sure, I'll be happy to. DATAROCKiT, the nuts and bolts of it is we transform legacy mainframe, unstructured cloud, and over-provisioned LLM data into clean, trustworthy, AI-ready data. And that allows you and customers to perform the magic for their customers and make it all happen. In other words, without clean AI trustworthy data, to us, that means data is just data until it's clean enough for AI. And that's the underlying problem today behind AI and getting us to win the AI race as a country.
Amazing. So walk us through a little case study of somebody who's like maybe your favorite kind of clients. They've got a bunch of data. They want to see how they can build AI tools. This sounds like a fundamental kind of step that maybe companies are missing. So kind of walk us through what like an onboarding would look like and kind of what the output ends up being.
Sure. Can I go backwards before we get to the onboarding? Because the onboarding is actually the easiest thing out there. All they have to do is get the data to us and we can do the rest. So it's really that simple. But I came up with this when I was speaking at a conference last year, actually. And afterwards, a couple of major players from a software vendor, the world everybody knows the name, and said, oh, we don't understand. We know you write about the big guy, little guy collaboration, but we don't understand why the big guy is not buying enough AI from us. And I said, okay, think about it from the CEO standpoint. What are they supposed to do? When 75% of the Fortune 500 companies are still using mainframes, and when yet they also have the cloud, and their data does not communicate, the legacy and the cloud. So what are they supposed to do? They have 1 foot in the old world and another foot in the new world, and they're doing splits, and it's not working out very well. So that's how we got involved in DATAROCKiT. So our view is data is just data until it's clean enough for AI. And that means we don't care if it's legacy, meaning like from the mainframes, those old big IBMs and things like that. And the government spends $80 billion a year on this problem that could be solved very quickly. The Wall Street Journal calls it a $1.52 trillion problem, if you can believe that. And our view is whether it's legacy, unstructured cloud, over-provisioned LLM, who cares? Data should just be able to work together seamlessly. And then you should be able to put it together how you want, wherever you want, and no matter what occasion. And there should be no blockage and no barriers. And that's what we do. We bring it to it all together cleanly. So if you can get it uploaded to us, and we can take it from there and return it to you in any format you want that's already ready to go. Now, one of the people, Ryan, said to me, and I was thinking to myself, you always think about the fallacy of your argument. You know what I'm saying? What can go wrong? And you have to be your own worst enemy. And that's what I've been doing recently until it was good enough to, come out. And that's where we recently made our debut at CloudX. And, I started to think, okay, so we could do legacy. Fine. Then we moved to the unstructured world in the cloud. And that's 90% of the data out there also. And then what do you do with the LLM side where you're dropping these bunker busters to try to break up this data when quite simply they could be using a lot less of this horsepower and trying to come up with a way to clean the data a lot easier. So by doing that, our view is let's make one pool of ocean that's clean. Why should you have to do it? So yes, we could do it on a one-shot deal. And then somebody says to me, meaning me in my head, well, what happens 5 seconds later when they start bringing in all this new data? And we have a product that can handle that too. So our job is really to put data and people and businesses in the best position to succeed together so they can make the maximum impact. Otherwise, I think they're fooling themselves and they're wasting a lot of money and a lot of time trying to do these workarounds when there's a pretty simple fix.
Amazing.
So, Ryan, so what somebody would do to us is they would come in, we have a dashboard, they would literally plug in, and they tell us what they want to bring over and all that. And we don't care if they can combine it, legacy, unstructured, they can bring it from multiple continents, any different amount. And whether they have 40 mainframes in 300 different locations, they all could be coming at one time and combined and turned into clean AI-ready data. And that's what makes it fun. We can give them back the whole index, show what's done, maybe with a few recommendations. But it's not our job to tell you how you should use your data. Our job is to put your data in the best position so you can succeed.
Amazing. Okay, so I heard a great quote that basically says, with AI, you can create marketplaces very easily. So when I'm thinking about data on a project like that, you got a contact database where you have one side of the table and then you have the other side of the table. And let's say I have 1 million contacts in Salesforce. I'm like, what can I do with these contacts? I want to clean the data and create a marketplace for both sides of these contacts. I bring these 1 million people from Salesforce over to you. Kind of, what do you do? And what's kind of, how do you restructure the data, particularly so it's sensitive for AI? And then, what am I overlooking by missing that step?
You're overthinking it, okay? So just think of data as just big one chunk, okay? Don't even think about whether it's customers or this names and that. Whatever format you want to bring it in, you want to make sure it's clean enough and ready enough and trustworthy enough for AI, okay? So that's what we really do. So on the other side, when you want to marry it all together, and then if you bring it in from one side, you have to marry it all and you bring it forward. So whether you want to bring it into Salesforce or bring it out of Salesforce, you understand, right? Bring it and migrate it. These are all things that you can easily do. And just think about how many different pockets of information that people are duplicating all around your company, right? Or how many things are in, and things. So if we think about a marketplace, we also have a project coming out in the future to do exactly what you're talking about. I think in the customer experience realm, why is it? I think customer experience in the future is going to be offering or providing your customer the products and services they never thought you would probably possible. In other words, something that they may not have to pay for, but you're going to give them such a lift, it's going to create a lifetime of loyalty. So let's take your world, the startup world, right? What if someone created a marketplace that could bring all these startups on, invite them on, meeting with the right people, get a big corporate account, and you bring their customers, their suppliers, their employees on and get them trained in this area and get them before all the right people, literally matching just like that.
Yeah.
This is what we could do. And this is also, we have another product. I don't want to lose focus here, but this is something that we have a chance to change, employee. We look at his experience, whether it's people, businesses, and data, they should be united together for maximum impact. And that's what really, really gets us going here. And, you hit on a big thing, Ryan. Everybody's looking at different portals, where it's coming from. Like, hold on, it's okay. Bring it in wherever you want. Then you're going to come out. And you might be kind of surprised that you have the same data stored in 1,500 different spots in your company, if you know what I'm saying. And people are doing this. So now you can tell those data scientists, who many of them are, and please don't take it the wrong way, but they can, I guess, is some of them are cleaning data now like they're potato peelers. You get that baked potato, you clean it, and then you put it underwater and you call it clean data. Well, AI is telling you the reason it's reacting is that you're not treating it right. So when you start treating the data right, AI will be your greatest tool you've ever used in your life.
Amazing. And sorry if I'm dense, but this is fascinating to me. What are the standards of cleanliness and good hygiene that AI is looking for?
You're talking about someone, first of all, I'm not a trained data scientist or a PhD and all that. All I want to do is fix a problem. You know what I'm saying? And start it out in that way. So the bottom line, how do you know, is when it goes through seamlessly through our system, that'll tell you it's really ready, because it's already running the test on the other side against the AI. If you understand what I'm saying, it's telling us whether it's ready. So you will know as an organization, quite frankly, is how is AI reacting to your data? In most cases, it's not very good. Now, there's many who will say, "Oh, we're doing great." They bang their chest. We just spent, $500 million doing this. Well, I would argue that it's nice to know, but there's still a better way of doing things. And so, Ryan, I'm not trying to do a little fairy dust here, but there's kind of a little bit there. You run it through our technology and it comes back out clean. And we tell everybody ahead of time, feel free to test it. We won't charge them for any tests. Run it through, kick it around. You'll see it from your end. So whether you test a 5 gigabyte and you later bring in 5 petabytes, which is 1,000 terabytes, if you get my drift, that's a big one. And we even show a demonstration with 153 terabytes of mixed legacy and cloud, unstructured cloud, and like that. So our view is to try to make something that's so complicated that people never thought could happen. Just say, hey, we can do it for you. And now, you guys can take it from here, because I'm betting that our customers will say to us, we can take it from here. It's like that last leg of the baton toss, in the relay race. As Americans, we usually have the 4 fastest runners, but we rarely win the race in the Olympics, in the relays, because we don't pass the baton properly. Well, in this case, you have a chance to really pull ahead that final leg and get way above your partners. So just think, if you didn't have to spend all that money and time and unnecessary reasons for trying to figure out data and what to do, when you can put all that together, and you're a CEO of these banks, and Chase probably spends close to $1 billion a year on it, and 70% of the world's still on legacy mainframes. I'm talking about banks and insurance companies and all that, and even the small ones, the big ones. And then you take 99% of the world still has the unstructured cloud problem, which is 90% of the data. It's a big problem that really no one's talking about. And if you want to win the AI race, this is what needs to be done. And whether you're from President Trump all the way down to a little person like me, we all want to be put in the best position to succeed. We want to have the best tools, the cleanest, the fastest. And this is something that the big guy can also bring down to the little guy and democratize data all the way through. And that's one of the exciting things as well. So, Ryan, sometimes this is a whole different way of looking at things. I'm in a distinct minority view here, okay? Most people think you have to just blow it through and all that. And we go, no. You can we can get it back to you. What used to take years and not work so well, we can now do it in hours or maybe in a day, if depending on, retries if they want to do it. But I hope I answered your question. But this is how you automate it. You know how when the assembly line was automated, right? How it changed things? We're now automating not only just the migration of data, but the integration of all data and making sure it stays that way for you 365, 24/7 a year.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. I mean, like you said, it's like, it's one of the biggest tech problems. You have legacy structured data trapped in mainframes and unstructured clouds. And to your point, you said nobody's talking about it. So how do you sell urgency to enterprise C-suite buyers who either they prefer incremental change or they're like, it's just a problem that we don't discuss?
That's a great question. And I'm not saying it because I'm on your podcast, but we're looking at a number of different strategies. We don't have a license on brains or a license on connections. So there are people out there that are already providing services or doing business with these entities. Now they are looking for the next big thing, if you know what I mean, improve their stature with their customer, with these big guys and so forth. How can they not just be the fill in the blank guy, but how do they also get a seat at the table, right? To be really someone they really rely on. So they're looking for this type of product, and that's how we're looking for it. So we're looking through certain distributors. Actually, there's even a couple of VC firms that we may be working with, not from the point of view of getting funding for us, because we are funded by the David Carmell, which is myself and my wife, but they have connections in the banks, you know what I mean? They may have specializations that we do. And it's also, by the way, potentially a new model, how to work together ahead of time to see if you really can move forward and right before they even want to make that investment in you. And by the way, they can make a heck of a lot of money too, being the distributor. You know what I'm saying? And for whatever, the value added reseller or whatever you want to call it. So from our point of view, Ryan, and really to answer your question is, appearing on these shows is one, getting our name out there is another. Two is to bring you through a chain of distribution that already has inroads into these markets. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what we're interviewing now. And that's how we see it. But on the other hand, there's a huge, from a little guy standpoint, it's very difficult to penetrate the C-suite. I mean, I started out of law school as assistant to the chairman and CEO of a large public company in Chicago. So I understand the 35,000 level. And I also understood that how you need to get your boss out of the office and taking a look at what's going on in the world, right? New things and stuff. That's not really happening a lot today. So how do you get by it? And then everybody's a chief today. It's like, just remember how you got there. This is about the business. This is about, not about necessarily what's the greatest thing for your career, but what's the best thing for your customer. And if you have the right culture, these are the things that are going to go. And then lastly, there are companies out there that are looking for that little thing, that lifeline to get them to distinguish themselves. And it takes that new CEO sometimes and to bring that through an organization. So the long and short of it is we could do this on a direct basis, but we're going to be going through people that have connections and so forth like that.
Cool. I love doing research on you because you speak in metaphors that I can understand. Something I read said that you noted that AI adoption is often stalled by Victorian era plumbing. And as a person who's gone through the ringer with clay pipes, I really understand that. So, aside from let's say just people being either ignorant or just not wanting to look at some of their data issues, what are some other mistakes you see that companies are making when they try to go all in right now with AI or generative AI? This episode is brought to you by MoBurst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. MoBurst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, Moburst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At Moburst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, Moburst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At Moburst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to Moburst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together. Hey everybody, you know what's crazy? I've been sitting on a gold mine this entire time and I didn't even know it. My Gmail inbox, literally thousands of warm contacts who already know and trust me. But here's the problem every founder faces. How do you turn those relationships into revenue without feeling like a sleazy salesperson? That's exactly why I've been using warmstart.ai. And honestly, it's been a game changer for my business. This AI platform connects your email, analyzes all your existing contacts, and helps you identify who in your network might actually be interested in what you're doing. Then it writes personalized outreach messages that don't sound robotic or pushy. The best part, you review every single message before it goes out. No spray and pray nonsense. This is relationship-based selling done right. My listeners know I only recommend tools I actually use, and Warmstart has literally helped me reconnect with people I'd lost touch with and turn those conversations into real business opportunities. If you're a founder struggling with outreach, check out warmstart.ai and use code AIFF to get $50 off your first month. Trust me, your existing network is worth way more than you think.
I think they get too hung up on it. I think they should figure out where they want to go and where and how they think they can get there and what is standing in the way for them doing so. And also, what I learned in college, quite frankly, and Ryan, I know we don't know each other really very well, but I'm probably one of the biggest hypocrites you'll ever meet in your life because almost everything I thought was a bad idea, I ended up doing. And recognizing that there is a big wide world out there and you better open your eyes and ears because you can learn a heck of a lot. So what I found when I went to college and to school and of all things, Model United Nations to start out with, is I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard of, the geeks running around with suits and ties and skirts and all those type of things. And then I realized it was one of the greatest experiences because it teaches you how to think about what's on the other side. I think the CEO should put their people into different positions instead of what they're in and start thinking about what is it like from this position? What's it like from the customer? What's it like to deal with me and so forth? Because you then the walls start coming down and that's what we're about. We tear down these walls with our data. Why can't you do the same thing? You're so worried today about couching things. When we look at strategy, Ryan, and we sit down with our people, it's a no holds bar. I mean, don't get me wrong. As long as everybody's rowing in the right direction, you should be bringing it up. And I can tell you that the best experience I ever had is one person came to me, she happened to bring a suggestion on the table and people just went after it. I could see, unfortunately, it wasn't going very well for her. And I didn't want to have an embarrassing moment. So she came, we paused the meeting real fast. And she said to me, you always say if you don't put it on the table, it can never get there, but I feel like I'm not. I said, calm down. We're about to get to a solution that we never, ever thought possible. And if you didn't bring it up, even though there only maybe 1 to 5% of your original thought, you sparked something that we've never had before. And sure enough, it led to products like what we're talking about now and different things like that. So I think you need to open up the gateways. The CEO needs to stop worrying about Wall Street enough and start thinking about Main Street and start thinking about how can I penetrate? How can I learn? How can I defeat my competition? And how are we going to be better than anybody else out there? So we will be a magnet for business. If you start thinking in those terms, like when we think about people coming into an organization, I always think about the rule of 2. Is this person capable of doing 2 jobs ahead? That way we're always thinking ahead. That way we're always moving, and that's where we want to go. And I think people are stuck in these quarterly mindsets of earnings and stuff like that, as opposed to start talking to their constituents about where they want to go, where they want to take this company, and how they want to turn this into a real rocket. And no pun intended, but yes.
And I like how you spell rocket. It's like you're going to rock it. It's great.
Thank you.
Now,
and by the way, Ryan, I appreciate the metaphor comment, because we do talk like it's like if you have to tear down the wall and remove the plumbing, this is what you're talking about doing as far as software goes. So even people like me who didn't grow up in the software world can visualize it. And on the video on our webpage, actually, this is the thing. The first video is what I thought about in diagrams. I'm playing right home after that conference in New York. So, you got to be able to put things in terms that people can understand, and whether you can understand too. And just using these industry terms, I mean, I got to look them up. I mean, seriously, I once had somebody talk to me about SaaS, and then I asked them, do you know what SaaS is? I didn't even know what the heck it was. I mean, it's like, they just drop these buzzwords. So I didn't mean to digress, but you hit a really, really good spot.
Now, it's important because in our industry, like the jargon is thick, and like the 3-letter acronyms are just like so ubiquitous. And being a storytelling kind of guy, I relate to the world in simpler terms, I suppose. So I appreciate it. One thing I read about you too is that you begin your workday at 5:30 in the morning and leave open slots for creativity, impromptu tasks. Talk a little bit about like how building your company is kind of I would say enhanced by leaving open opportunities to kind of like maybe do creative work as opposed to reactive work.
You did do your own work. Very good. I love people who do that.
Only the best. I'm a pro. What are we talking about here?
Well, I have to give you kudos on your podcast too. So you are the best. But the answer to your question is, no one has a license on brains and on strategy and so forth. And we all learn from experience. And that's the one thing that AI has not been taught enough of, is how to deal with experience. Yours, mine, right? How do we build it into software? And that's something that we've tried to do here. So I try to think of myself as also, I want people to think that my door is open. When I started out, I used to have a lot of my door closed, and I started realizing people weren't as much willing to talk to me, if you know what I mean, because my door seemed to be closed. So I started thinking to myself, well, I have to have time to think as well. And so I always try to save like either 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., at least that time every day, to making sure that I have open either for customers who want to call, for people who want to call, or for my own private time. Secondly is, there's nothing wrong with regrouping on a daily basis about where you are, right? Where you succeeded. What have you learned today? What is it? These type of things. So I think just from a personal point of view, that yes, a lot of us have high motors, and I know you do, but at the same time, it doesn't mean our motor always has to be moving, physically moving. We need to let our brain also take that motor and rack it as well. And so whether we're going around seeing people and learning and watching and different things like that, and getting involved in these different meetings, but what better way than coming up with a construct when you know that your mind's trained that at 10 a.m. that you're going to be doing this every day. You know what I mean? It sets it up. And so it's like muscle memory. It's like hitting a golf ball. How come sometimes in the shower is when your best ideas come about? It's because you've turned it off, and you're ready to go, and you're ready to bring your mind to a whole new level. So at the same time, the opportunity of not being able to talk to someone like you or someone in your organization who can open up a whole new wave of thought that could be that missing piece. We call ourselves the missing piece technology, but there's always a missing piece. There's something there that's missing. And all of a sudden you hear it. And as an entrepreneur, you just grab it. And it's something that's done. And that's what I try to do on a daily basis, is I try to keep a schedule like that. I get up, there's some days I do sleep in later. So, but it's, if there's other times though, I'm sure that you're the same way. You may wake up at 3 a.m. with an idea. That's because you're really engaged in your thinking. And so I never want my mind and my thought process and my ability to have an open door, whether it's my own thoughts or meeting with people and getting feedback and also giving reactions, to the ability to make this all better. And I try to also use, maybe not doing a great job on your podcast, but we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And if you learn to try to use that ratio, as far as conversation goes, it usually works out, really well for you. You've got to be a very good listener. And so, you got to listen to your mind too. It may sound crazy, but you do. You have to listen. And you have to treat yourself like in a different position, Ryan. I tried to say, in our case, like our product stinks. People go, well, you can't say that. I said, yeah, well, we have to prove that it's good enough or great enough to get out to the next level. Otherwise, you're going to be fooling yourself when it comes to the market.
Yeah. Mornings is something that I've had to reclaim. I'm naturally a night owl, and mornings are just a hellscape for me, typically. Now, with the invention of all these AI tools are so cool, and there's always so many more to demo, and there's the capacity I've got now is incredible. AI early on, you could 10x your productivity, which meant I was like, oh, cool. That means I can do 1x the work. But no, it just turned into I'm now doing 100x the work, which, and I'm able to rattle through tasks without fatigue of context toggling much better now. There's so much to get done now that, to me, the value in investing in the morning is absolutely critical. So for me, I get up 5:30 and I go do yoga in the mornings, and I kind of have to now, because I think one unintended consequence of like being able to 10x, 50x, 100x your output is that there's it's exhausting. And also it creates kind of like a out in front of your skis feeling. I mean, I don't want to go so far as to call it anxiety or something like that, but there's definitely like a pulling nature to the desk. So, for me, I go do yoga, and it kind of harmonizes my brain and my body, and also allows me just to like warm up enough that like I can sit at a desk for friggin' 10 hours a day and not lose my mind. But, it's really been like an important part of my practice is getting the mornings back.
Well, I think you have to understand, I think the pandemic has taught a lot of people that they've had to learn how to deal with idle time. When you're at home 24/7 or whatever it was, during that time. And I didn't used to be a morning person. I used to be able to go from like 11 till I could go to 3 a.m. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, and now I find myself mornings, and I can still go late night. It's sometimes in the afternoon is like the time that I need to take the wind down and just get my head together, because my view is when you feel it, you just got to take that wave and start riding it. And it doesn't matter what time it hits you. On the other hand, you still need to have that balance and discipline that you talked about, that you can get your thoughts and head and act in order. Otherwise, you're going to be so responding to the AI world. I mean, you're talking about right now the biggest cesspool out there, which is the internet, right? And you're being bombarded all the time with this information. Well, if you can't control of what you want to do and how you want to get there and what you want to take in, it could be not a great rabbit hole. So I would just say, what works for you, go for it. I mean, seriously, it's not for me to tell you that, like, who would want to do yoga? Again, I'll probably end up doing yoga, but my point is that it's really nice to hear when someone says, this is how I really recoup my time and my mind and my viewpoint. Because when you can start out today in a great frame of mind and where you want to go, it's kind of like marriage, what I do. And I've been with my bride since high school, but I call her my bride. And I try to go to bed at night thinking that I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And tomorrow's the second day of our marriage. And when I do that, it really kind of, it works out. And it's like, I just met her yesterday, and it's just, great. So when you can start from that type of perspective, and I'm not saying it's for everybody, but like you said about yoga, you probably look forward to doing your yoga in the morning, right?
Best.
And I look forward to waking up with hopefully this great thought that this is like the second day of marriage, we're just getting going. And it's like how I look at our businesses too and hitting the day. So when you can go out and listen, there's a lot of crap, excuse the expression, out there that's going on in this world. But at the same time, give yourself some time to deal with it, and then you got to keep moving. So, and all that.
Your bride. I'm going to use that. I call my wife my ex-girlfriend, and she does not like that. But it is technically correct.
Absolutely. Sometimes you use, I go, digress for a second, but it's great that you said that. Sometimes I'll say to my wife, my bride, I'll say a line to her. I go, how's that? She goes, oh, that's good. Sometimes you come up with another one, if not so good. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So, they're also your best audience and your best friend and your best listener. And also the same way it works both ways. So my wife's she's the executive director of this large nonprofit. And, every year she gives me a performance review. She doubles my retainer, which from 0 to 0. So, and tells me that things are doing great. So anyways, but I couldn't be happier.
That's great. DATAROCKiT, what's the business model? How do you determine pricing?
I think I'm going to wrestle with that till the day I die. But what we're going to determine pricing is this. We know what the cost is of people that are the long and the short is, for the large players, they're used to certain requirements, certain way to pay. And also they are expending exorbitant amounts of money. So our whole goal and model is, I would love to be able to, we're going to charge a certain amount upfront and then we want to go and do a percentage of savings to prove our real worth. And then we'll charge on a hosting basis, not hosting, but for a support basis to do the 365 monthly a charge on top of that. So realistically, we will actually sitting down with some large players now and getting an understanding how they want to be sold. If you get what I'm saying, because every company, until you are the player, wants to be sold individually, nuanced for them. And I think, that's what we want to hit in. Well, that's our sweet spot. Well, we prefer to do this with that. Okay, if we can work it into the model and do that. On the other hand, we want to be able to say, we could be a game changer for you. And I'm willing to take less up front, but I want to participate in those savings. And I also want to be able to move forward and showcase what we have done together. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be happy, more profitable, and better off than you were before. And more importantly, that you've become a magnet for people who want to do business with you. And not just customers, employees, vendors, all that. Because you have changed how you do business. You brought a model going forward. And you know what? We're willing to we want you to have some skin in the game too. But we're willing to show you the horsepower we have. So that's one of the things we're pricing. We're not a commodity yet, if you know what I'm saying. There's people that are trying to do some of the things we're doing. I would say in the legacy area for sure. Considering that's a $1.5 trillion issue, that's technical debt every year really being paid. And when it takes one mainframe to heat 40 homes, just think about, from electrical pricing. So we really want to understand the customer's pain point really well. But on the other hand, we want to be compensated for that as well. If someone says to us though, Ryan, that we can't do this incentive and all that, then we will come up with a very fair and price that we will work out with them. But we're not a $39.95 item. We haven't, it's inexpensive, but we're worth it. And when you can save years, and I don't know how many hours and hundreds of millions of dollars, if we say, give us 90 minutes for a data test to the chance to save 100 million plus and bring in value, I think that's a pretty good value proposition. Yeah. So that's, from a pricing standpoint, I've heard other guests of yours too say that they've wrestled with all the time. I've never heard anybody who was like a expert in this, but we don't want to get too far ahead of our skis. We also know with some of the earlier players that probably the amounts will be less because they're going to say, we'll obviously, but Our goal is hopefully you'll be a supply and demand, if you get my point.
Yeah, and I had a client. He was a
that
professional consultant on pricing. That was his expertise. And I asked him about his pricing, and he was nervous about it. I was like, man, it never ends. It was great.
I would, if I was on the flip side, I would flip it back to you. But I know it's your podcast and say, well, you talk to everybody in the world. How do you see it? You know what I mean? And so forth like that. So that's one of the great things about shows like yourself, that you get to learn from others. Yeah. And realize that others in the same position as you, like, we don't have a license on every piece of information. And what I've always found out there, that if somebody really is a great customer and wants to be a great partner with you, they'll give you the way forward in that area, because they know what fair pricing is, you know what I mean? And things like that too. So.
Well, I know it's a pain point for all the listeners of this podcast. I mean, there's 27,000 founders and CEOs that listen to this, building with AI or actually have AI companies. And, pricing, especially right now, because you have all this, outcome usage-based pricing with tokens, or do you go kind of a strict SaaS model, or how to set pricing is really important. So I get tons of feedback that, the economics of businesses is, a big takeaway they get from the show, which is why I have to keep pressing forward here, David. So if we're talking about
I would say real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. I would just say you have to understand.
Sorry.
You have to understand where you fit in if you're in a commodity business, then you have to make sure you're pricing, right? If you're in a value side of the business, you have to make sure where you can bring it in, right? And then if you fall somewhere in between, then you have to figure out the best way forward. And also, every customer has a personality, and we have to figure out how they want to be sold and understood and make it better for them.
Yeah, totally. On average, what's a kind of lifetime value for a customer for you?
Well, now you got me stumped. How do you determine lifetime value?
I would say revenue times a year. Annual revenue, we'll say, for our customer.
What's our sweet spot of customer to go after, or how much revenue do we want to generate per customer?
Yeah. How much revenue do you want to generate per customer? Or what's the average of that?
Our goal is to be in, for sure, minimally in the 7 figures.
Yeah. Okay.
To hire. And, we are willing to take less on the initial side to be able to share in the savings on the going forward. So if you think about the legacy debt and this technical debt that they've been paying every year and they don't have to pay it, that's a lot there's a lot there. So, that's the pot we're interested in having to play with and help them to reach it. Because I find out with customers, we're all on the same page. If it works together, way better, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, 7-figure annual or 7-figure revenue for a client is humongous. What's some of the expenses and maybe the margins there?
Well, I mean, we've tried to automate everything, but we have we want to be in a very high end of the range of, gross profit.
Yeah,
and
of
course. We've invested all this time and effort in doing so, and by able to kind of venture in certain respects where no one has gone before and offer a product that can get there a lot faster and huge time savings and cost savings. That's how we look at it. But we have to make sure that, the costs of the cloud, right, and on-prem and all these type of things are very expensive too. And I don't see them coming down in any time soon unless some other major players come in. So we have to be very cognizant of that. And, companies like Microsoft and Azure, they've been really good to us. But, how long are they going to be? You know what I'm saying? And that's where I'm getting at in that so to answer your question real short is we want to be in the upper end of gross profit and of anybody, because we built our model accordingly. And, it's a big risk reward because we didn't take things incrementally. We are ready to take the big swing, and we didn't want to take a step out until we were ready to go. I would argue that DATAROCKiT right now is really DATAROCKiT 4.0, not 1.0. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had, those type of things. So I hopefully I answered your question, and I know I've hemmed and hawed on it, but, we really want to be at the top scale of gross profit, and our performance better support that as well. Otherwise, we're not going to get there.
Amazing. David, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on the show. A couple of things before we get out of here. One, if you could live in any time or place or historical era, what time and what place would that be?
Well, I would say definitely now.
Not now or the future.
Oh, not now or the future? Oh, okay. I would definitely love to have been around the era when the United States and the Constitution in 1776. I would love to have been able to sit in as a fly on the wall to listen to our framers talk about what they're looking at, and then be able to go back to the future, if you know what I mean, like that, and see today what is going on. I always think to myself, what would, Thomas Jefferson or Franklin or Madison or any of these framers be thinking of what's going on today, and any of these constitutional arguments and what people are making of it, and how these law professors are saying this and this is going on in society. And yet the greatest thing in the world is this American Constitution has survived. If you really think about it, I think it's the greatest. I mean, I'm not talking about what's in it. I'm not getting to that level, but the fact that people that didn't have any type of basically electricity, if you know what I'm saying, like we take everything for granted today. Could you imagine them saying, "Hey, are you out of your mind?" But they thought that far, you know what I mean? That far in advance. And I'd love to hear, I would love to have been a fly on the wall to listen to them and think about, we can't just talk about today. What about tomorrow? What about 100 years from now? How they thought they saw the world. And that's why their premise has been the same and has been able to hold weight for over coming on 250 years now. And that's pretty freaking amazing.
I love that answer. And, I think it might have also been a period that was the pinnacle of male fashion. In no other time could you have like a purple duster with 50 brass buttons up, and kind of like long shorts with high socks and like a shiny shoe. Just look cool.
Oh. Yeah, as long as it's not wool, it would have worked out great for me, because it's just like crazy. But anyways, I probably could have made it, but my one weakness is air conditioning. I really don't like to be, they wore some really heavy clothes, and those summers must have been, pretty brutal. But at the same time, if you really look at it, some of that fashion has definitely made its way through the years, right? I mean, people definitely took a look at it. There was nothing that you couldn't wear, really, right? I mean,
you have long hair and like a man has a bow tie in it, a black bow tie in their ponytail.
Well, look at the dreadlocks of today, and I don't want to go off the braids and stuff, and look at the barristers and the Brits wore in those times. You know what I'm saying? It's not, it's a little bit different. Don't get me wrong, but the concept is there, and this is one of the great things. But also, Ryan, people have to understand history, going back and thinking. And I know myself that I am so grateful that I didn't read those biographies about Jobs and Musk and innovation by Stanley. I can't believe I forgot his first. Just because I may not have ever got into DATAROCKiT or into software, because it's seen what they were doing. And then I realized they just put their pants on one leg at a time, like the rest of us, a lot faster. But and they look at problems. And what sold me about people like Elon Musk is when his person at SpaceX says to him, "We now have an engine that works at 10 million. He says, "You got to get it to 2. You know what I'm saying? Just like that. And that's when I realized that he just wasn't a tech guy. He also knew the dollars and cents, right? And how it all needs to work together. So to answer your question, Ryan, I just think what you're doing, allowing people like myself to have a few minutes to chat and to learn from you, and hopefully learn more. And I appreciate what you do for your readers. It's great.
100%. And before we get out of here, I just want to give a shout out to an organization that's near and dear to your heart, which is Facing History and Ourselves, facinghistory.org. And they use lessons of history to challenge teachers and their students to stand up to racism, anti-Semitism, and other forms of bigotry and hate. And gosh darn it, don't we know we need that right now? So shout out to them. And do you want to add a couple of words of kind of your involvement with the organization?
We got involved in like 25 years ago or more with Facing History. And my wife originally started out as an educator, and they asked her to come on board when it really was its infancy. And it's so great to see how something that started at a dining room table, now has branched out all over the world. It has affected 100 million, but pretty close to 100 children, educators. And at the same time, it really hasn't lost its focus on what it's been trying to do and what the lessons of the Holocaust and what it means to the world and the rest of society and everybody's life to the rest of us. And, it's just a really meaningful organization, and hopefully people look at it and support it.
Amazing. And of course, it's DATAROCKiT. That's data, ROCKIT.com. And David, what's the best place people can connect with you online?
You can do it two ways. I'm available on LinkedIn, and I wish I could say on X, but I'm not that active. And also on our DATAROCKiT, if you want to get a meeting with me or something like that, you can drop down. We have a contact slip at any contact area, and it gets you into Calendly. And we appreciate you, Ryan, and I do. And if you people would like to spread the word, or if they ever would like to become a distributor of what we do, there's a lot of people that need it. And if sometimes the most important person in the world is the one that can connect the dots and make it all happen. So that's what we need. And that's what we appreciate people like you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, David.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. It was a pleasure.
Okay, everyone loves to talk about vision, the pitch, the funding round, but you know what gets zero love? The actual product build. That magical, terrifying phase where nothing works, the docs are out of date, and you've asked your dev team, how's it going, for the 47th time today on Slack. That's where Code Story comes in. It's a podcast for startup founders who know that building the thing is the thing. Hosted by Noah Labhart, Code Story goes deep with tech leaders who've been through it, shipping real products, surviving messy launches, and figuring out what actually works and when you're on the edge of chaos. If you're building now or ever plan to, you'll want these stories in your earballs. Search Code Story wherever you get your podcasts or visit codestory.co, because founders talk vision, but builders tell code stories. All right. Coffee is great, but coffee won't prep your meetings for you. It'll just keep you awake while you panic, hastily scrolling through LinkedIn at 6:59 a.m. Ambient, however, will prep your meetings. Each morning you get a founder-tuned briefing sourced overnight from your calendar, your meeting history, and the web. It's like walking into every call with a cheat sheet that you didn't have to write. No more scrambling, no more guessing, just context, confidence, and focus. And if you're raising money, Ambient investor dossiers are an absolute must-have. You'll know the investor's portfolio, their interests, and their latest moves before you even step into the room. You'll even get a heads up on red flags. Think of it as the caffeine upgrade that your calendar actually needs. Prep while you sleep, perform while you're awake. Sign up for free at ambient.us. Go check it out at ambient.us. That's ambient.us. Hey founders, let me ask you this. Are you building with AI or getting left behind by it? If you're serious about scaling smarter, faster, and bolder, you need to check out aiforfounders.co. It's your go-to resource for cutting through the noise and actually using AI to grow your startup. Each week, AI for Founders drops a sharp, no-fluff newsletter, dives deep with expert guests on the podcast, and hosts monthly workshops where you can get your hands dirty with the real tools and strategies. Whether you're pre-seed or Series B and beyond, launching something new, or just staying sharp, AI for Founders gives you the edge you need to win in 2025 and beyond. hit aiforfounders.co to subscribe to the newsletter, tune into the podcast, and grab your spot in the next workshop. And it's all free. Build smarter, move faster, think bolder with AI for Founders. Now back to the show.